boys and girls, welcome to my channel. I'm ForClassic and welcome to BenchART. So we have finally have it, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, a game developed by Ubisoft Montreal, and they are using their typical Ubisoft engine called the MBoard 2.0, which is, well, pretty much the same engine that Ubisoft have been using throughout all the latest Assassin's Creeds, Ghost Recon, Breakpoint, for example, and even Rainbow Six Siege do use this engine. Although every new Assassin's Creed, Ubisoft surprises me on the wrong way, in fact, on the bad way, of the performance they get, or that we get on their games. So every new release, the performance gets awfully worse each game, alright? But at least this time there is some good news and some bad news about it. So let's first check out the settings. So I'm using 1080p, typical resolution for the 1650 Super mostly, alright? And I'm using high settings, but the only thing that I did change so far, it was just the texture quality, because if you look to the bar down there, if you use the textures on maximum, you just go overboard with the usage of your RAM, and your gameplay will be full of stuttering, so you need to use medium textures for the 1650 Super. I also activate adaptive quality to 30 frames per second, but honestly, this adaptive quality doesn't do much. Despite I did use in here, it is just the bad option overall. So let's take a look on the requirements, and I think that Ubisoft have been doing a great job in regard with the requirements. So our graphic card sits inside the recommended, which is for 1080p 30 frames per second high presets, which is what we are using in here instead of the textures that are set to medium. And they are very transparent in here, so they say that you need a GTX 1060 with 6GB of VRAM or an RX 570 with 8GB. So this clearly shows up that a 4GB version or a 3GB version, it is not enough for the high settings, and it is true. That's why we needed to reduce the texture quality to medium. They also specify that you need a Ryzen 5 from the first generation or an i7 from the 4-core 8-thread generation, I believe. 8GB of RAM, and they do recommend you to have an SSD, which in fact I do have. So looking to the performance, oh boy, that's where the trouble starts, and that's where they are absolutely right about it. So on the first city of the game, which honestly I don't know the names of the cities are really complicated on this game. And with the high settings and textures on medium, what I did got it was an average of 41 with a 1% level of 30, so overall the experience was above 30. But I do think that the medium settings, it is possibly the best option, since it offers an average of 48 frames per second with a 1% level of 36. So this city might not be the most demanding city, and if you encounter more demanding cities than this one, with the high settings your frame rate might go under 30. So medium settings might be able to hold on above 30 frames per second. And low settings, obviously there is a huge improvement in performance. Still not enough for 60 frames per second though, but it is still a huge improvement. Although the low settings looks bad, the medium settings looks good though, very good in fact. But the high settings, boys, well, you get every stuff. And dropping down to medium settings looks like a downgrade to me, because you clearly and immediately you notice the difference between the world density of objects, of grass, and the lack of screen space reflections. Even the clouds can cast shadows to each other. So they are small details, but I do enjoy to have them, in fact. So that's why I decided to stick around with the high settings, and possibly throughout the gameplay, if I encounter cities that might be more demanding, that throws my high settings to something lower than 30, I might customize a little bit the settings, like drop down the volumetric clouds, drop down shadows from high to medium. Shadows looks really good at medium anyway, so I might customize some settings in order to try to earn some extra performance instead of dropping every stuff to medium settings. But the game have a couple of issues too that I did notice. For example, when I do call the Raven to pick over the city, every time I call it, there is a huge stutter that does happen. Even the sound stops. So I'm not really sure if Ubisoft even tests their own games, honestly, because this is really bad and happens all the time to me. So I'm not really sure what the hell they are doing with this. I think I do prefer to play with high settings and implement a lock of 30 frames per second by forcing through Nvidia control panel the usage of adaptive VSync at half rates that forces the game to be locked at 30 frames per second console style. Although talking about consoles, the next generation consoles can actually run this game at 60 frames per second. There are multiple claims out there that the new Xbox Series X can play this game at 4K 60 frames per second. Well, I'm actually surprised because yes, I do know that these next generation consoles will be killing off this graphic card entirely, but still managing to do 4K 60 frames per second on a console in a game that it is as demanding as this, it seems quite surprising. So probably there is a little bit small trick here and there on the Xbox, but I'm really waiting for the Digital Foundry video. I'm really curious to see how the heck they were able to put this game at 60 frames per second at 4K on those consoles, because I really think it's really surprising. So the good news about this is that the game now features DirectX 12, and this might be bad news for many people, since you need to have DirectX 12 feature level 12.0, and many graphic cards doesn't really have. So Maxwell graphic cards like the 750 Ti can't launch the game. A lot of laptops, graphic cards, the MX series, a lot of them don't support this DirectX feature level, so they are unable to launch the game. But on the good part, if you have a graphic card that are supported by the game, what happens really is that they finally managed to control their CPU usage. So the fact that they did implement the DX12 in this game, it really manages to drop down the CPU usage and avoid bottlenecking. So this was one of the biggest issues ever with Ubisoft games. It was its massive CPU usage, and it seems that at least on this Assassin's Creed Valhalla, or even Watch Dogs Legion, it was pretty bad, the CPU usage in fact, even with DirectX 12. But Assassin's Creed Odyssey on other end, Assassin's Creed Valhalla on other end, that's what I wanted to say. Thanks to DX12, it is really much better when it comes to CPU usage. So hardly this Ryzen 5 will bottleneck any graphic card at all, because it is so much better on the CPU side. But unfortunately, and again, it seems that now it's like they made a trade. So the game was super demanding for the CPU, but now it is super demanding to the graphic card. So what the heck, Ubisoft, please get your shit together in this regard. Alright guys, so I think that's all that I want to talk about the performance. As for the game itself, I really wanted to share some words about it, but I don't have too much to say. I didn't play it enough. Many people say that this is the best of the 3 latest Assassin's Creed titles. So many people claim that this is the refinement of Assassin's Creed Origins and the refinement of Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Many people say that this is just perfect. They picked up the best of the 2 games and they put it in here. But well, I really don't have too much to say. I really don't know how well or bad this game have been received for multiple users out there. But when it comes to critics, well, the reviews have been something like this. So on Metacritic, the game scored 85. Most of the reviews say that this game really revamped its RPG thing, alright? And above all, it brings a more compelling story than the predecessor titles. So I think this is enough, because all the rest of the stuff, it should be pretty much equal to the predecessor. So if you did really enjoy the predecessor games, like Assassin's Creed Origins or Assassin's Creed Odyssey, this one will be more of the same, but revamped, alright? And inside the Viking storytelling and Northern culture. So if you do enjoy that, well, this game, it is absolutely for you. Alright guys, so I think that's all that I want to talk about Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Hope you keep enjoying the rest of the video. It's not much, I'm just going to fight some guys and I will be taking a beating though. But that's about it. Hope you keep enjoying the rest of the video, and I do hope to see you soon. Goodbye.
There is Thorgils.
Rolf! Who is your friend?
Keep your head on the fight or someone will crack it.
All right.
That one is so thick, he could shatter your shield. But the other men like him. And those are the best of the bunch.
So, those three, yeah? I've handled more.
You want to fight them all at once?
Why not? Raids are the stuff of chaos itself. They need a test with no rules.
Challenge them, but do not damage them. It was hard enough finding this many. Listen up, you sea slugs. This is Eivor Wolfkist, who has killed more men than you will ever meet.
Eivor Wolfkist. I have heard of you. This will be great.
You want to lead my crew? You must fight Eivor. Best fighter wins. No killing, no maiming. Other than that, no rules. Understand?
I am ready.
Fight!
A raider needs to be ruthless.
I am better than any man here!
You have much to learn.
Skorta í göngu, þú sér dauður! Reka sig niður! Ekki gefast upp, Aklabi!
It was an honor beating you.